what I need to see, that there is something in me that wants to take me to a dark place. That's the beginning of a new life.
It's the struggle to give up what you see as invaluable for something that you don't yet know the value of, but that you sense exists. That's the crucifixion. Without it, nothing happens. You're on the precipice.
Are you sure? Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kate. Welcome to our Sunday morning class with Guy Finley. Glad you could join us here in the room, those of you who are here at Life of Learning Foundation, and also to you online. Hello. Welcome. If this is your first time here, the format for today's class is that in just a moment, Guy is going to come on. He'll give an hour-long talk. We'll take a short break. We'll come back for part 2 of class, which is an open Q&A dialogue with all of you, everyone in the room. You'll all have the opportunity to speak directly with Guy and ask questions if you wish. So hope you can stay for our entire class today. We'll run for probably about almost 2 hours, so it's just now 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, and we'll go till about 11:15, 11:30. So hope you can stay for the whole time, and if you can't, we are recording all of this, and you can get access to the replays, and I'll tell you about that later. I just realized I forgot to bring up the title and key lesson. Well, I'll look over there when it's time for me to read that. But for those of you in the room, if you brought your cell phones into the room, could you please check and make sure that they're off or in silent mode? And just a quick note for the online audience, if you have any tech issues during the broadcast, you can reach out to us in the question box or the chat area, whether you're on GoToWebinar, Facebook, YouTube, and or you can also send an email to support@guyfinley.org, and I'll be happy to help you behind the scenes. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started with class, and I'll read the title, and I'll go ahead and read the key lesson, the first key lesson. And pardon me looking this way, but I need to read from the screen over there. So the title for today's talk is The Cost of Freedom. And here's the key lesson. A true search for the beginnings of things must invariably lead to the end of things, but the end of things is not the end of the awareness of them.
Good morning, everyone. And of course, welcome to all of you who are joining us from wherever you are in the world, whatever day or time you are tuning in. Glad you're here. Increasingly, I see the need to make imperative for you how critical it is that, as the old proverb says, the fool takes food from the plate but forgets to put it into his or her mouth. The unbelievably beautiful and yet terrible impressions that are your inheritance as a human being, to go through and begin to incarnate that which you were in the beginning and shall evermore be so, but that you do not know is so about you. And because you don't know it is so about you, you suffer so terribly. And you live as it is with a kind of an illusion. And one of the difficulties of the journey, the true journey, is the yielding, is the surrendering the cost of the journey is dying to the idea of the journey. Of realizing that this whole idea of you going somewhere in time and becoming something as you've imagined you must become to be whole, all of that has to go. That's the cost of the freedom that you seek. Because the freedom you seek is connected to some idea you have about what freedom is. A time and a place, a power, a possession at last yours, that is so elusive that you almost get it in your hands time and time again when he or she loves you, or they look so cute, or this is going so well. And then all of a sudden it evaporates as the illusion that it always was, even though it gave you a momentary sense of being real. There's another world, and I want, as best I'm able to do in this short hour, at least while I'm speaking, we do have an hour and a half, I urge you to stay for the whole time, to give you an impression. The speaker can't free anybody. Christ himself couldn't free anybody. But if it's freedom that you hunger for, then you have to understand there's a cost for it. Even though the cost of it in the end turns out to be entirely free, because you, as you are, have absolutely nothing to give for that freedom, save for the illusion of a self that is forever seeking to somehow confirm itself as being real. So here I want to start with the impressions. I was going to read this whole thing, but then I realized if I did, I wouldn't have time to talk. And maybe that'd be preferable, but this is one of the quadrants. I think there's 4 of them, and this is a portion of it from something called The Little Gidding by T.S. Eliot. Now, most of us, I realize, don't know who T.S. Eliot is or much about the individual, but what a soul. He, like other men and women, not just from the 17th, 18th, or 19th century, but throughout time, have had impressions and made their life the effort to convey those impressions, so that in the conveyance of those impressions, a consciousness that bore the same similarity of the possibility of that, of realizing what that poetry or that quadrant, what that prose was intended to convey, might stir in them an impression that causes a hunger to rise in them that they begin to pursue the answer for, but can never find in this world that which satisfies that hunger. And that's part of the beauty of true spiritual teachings, is to awaken in you something that you cannot stop looking for, and that you find you will not find in this world as you know it. So let me read quickly this little section. You know the first part, we've talked of it before. We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. Through the unknown, unremembered gate is that which was the beginning. At the source of the longest river, the voice of the hidden waterfall, and the children in the apple tree, not known because not looked for, but heard, half heard in the stillness between 2 waves of the sea. The mind can't grasp that. But there's a place already created in the heart, in the spiritual heart, to understand that idea of a place not known, not looked for, but heard and half heard in the stillness between 2 waves of the sea, between the opposites. It's so easy to forget, isn't it? Those all too infrequent moments where a part of you longs for something that you have longed for since the beginning of time. In one respect, that's how it feels. And then to have that longing just disappear in a wink. A thought, a feeling passes through you. Somebody says something, you look in the mirror, you have some momentary shock, and everything that you ever longed for from the deepest part of yourself just disintegrates. as if smashed into by something that has the power to reduce it to the rubble that it seems to be. And then you're left in that moment, once again, hoping for, seeking the exact same things that your whole life you've spent trying to find. That tiny moment of peace in some corner where your consciousness isn't disturbed by the content of itself or anyone else. And then it's gone. But by the grace of God, it comes back, but it doesn't come back often as that sudden deep longing, that fire that can't be quenched. It comes back instead in the moment of a shock where you realize, sweet God, I went to sleep again. And in the moment of that shock, the faint remembrance, like an echo to it, recalling that there was some excellence that was inside of you that was beyond that shock and that could use those shocks instead of being used by them. And in those moments, and may they come sooner and sooner and closer together, you realize that it isn't life that's hard. But there's something in you that's quite hard now. So let me, with 10 minutes gone, tell you a story to set the stage for the impressions for the food that I hope to be able to serve here as the servant of the giver of that food. How many of you are weary travelers? You know what it means. I've been on this journey, it seems like a pretty long time. And I just get to a certain point, and then I don't know how it happens. I go back to starting again, and I don't know why I can't get past that point. Work has always spoken of it as a certain 51% mark. Why is it that I'm always put back? And this is what you have to start to understand. You of yourself cannot take you past that place where you are put back. But you of yourself are capable of understanding the place where you run into, where you are put back. And in understanding that and studying it and staying there as best you can, which is what this talk is about, the identification, the realization, and hopefully the release, to go past that point, then something altogether different can happen. So here's a weary traveler, a student, an aspirant, and he's with a master studying, and he says to the master, I am so tired of always fighting. My mind wrestling with this and that and the other, and disappointment with myself and dissatisfaction with others. What must I do to make my life easier? Meaning that I could be at peace with myself and the world around me, because obviously, and you know it, I know you do, student to master, I'm not. What must I do to be at peace with myself and the world around me? How many of you would like to know what to be at peace with yourself and the world around you? Yes or no? The master answers. He looks at the aspirant and he says, it's not that difficult. He said, stop making life so hard for yourself and others. Stop making life so hard for yourself and others if you want to find the peace that you ask about. Now, most of us don't believe for a split second that we make life hard. Yes or no? Out loud. Yes. Yeah, I don't make it. How ludicrous is that? I would make life hard for myself? No. All of my life is not about making it hard for myself. For me, life is about making it easier for myself. Isn't it? Yeah. So I ask you, students, what exactly makes life hard for me? For you? What makes life hard for you? Anybody? No, don't give me that. You don't know that. You must get tired of knowing what you think you know. Because if you knew it was you that made it hard, it would be over. That's a thought. The reality is entirely different. What makes life seem so hard, simply put, is it goes against what I want, when I want it, and the way I want it. That's what hard is, isn't it? Like maybe you don't like the tone that I speak to you in. You think the speaker's harsh. The speaker's not harsh. You have a hard place in you. And the place is hard in you is born out of these unseen demands that go with you that you didn't even create for yourself. That everyone and everything see you exactly the way you want to be seen, because if they don't, then they are an obscene person. This is an obscene moment, because it has nothing to do with what? With what I desired the moment to be before I came into it. Key idea. We do not know that we walk into moments, a spring-loaded desire machine, all of which has these, you know that little whack-a-mole thing? All these, there's like an endless field of little holes out of which pops these desires, given any condition that strengthens, that threatens whatever it is that that desire is about. No desire that lives in you or in the speaker exists without the corresponding identity attached to it. There is no desire that lives inside of you that doesn't have a corresponding identity attached to it. Identity is desire. And we have no false identity other than those that are created by desire that we did not see formed, or that we came into a world already replete with and never knew that we took on the form, the identity of that desire. Following me? But we don't believe that's true. Story to help you see that it's true. We have to go in increments. So imagine a family reunion, and I don't know, what would be a I know what I'd do, what I'd like to go. They get to go to Victoria Falls. I don't know if you know what Victoria Falls is. And I don't think I'm going to get there in this lifetime, which is very disappointing. But somewhere, I think in Africa, there is a 7-mile-long stretch of waterfalls where the continent sunk and one part didn't. And all the water from one part of the continent flows over these massive sheer cliffs into the part of it waiting to receive it. Anyway, maybe I'll get there. So imagine the family goes to Victoria Falls. Now, maybe that doesn't sound spectacular to you. Maybe a family goes to Nordstrom's or something. Who the God knows what it is that you think is wonderful. If it doesn't feed the soul, it starves it. If it doesn't feed the soul, it starves it. So there's this family. And pretty much the whole time there's been a negative Nelly amongst them. And there they are overlooking this unbelievable sight. And this one person, when they're done, they're walking back after seeing this spectacular thing. And the one person is negative. They're mumbling to themselves. They're looking at their cell phone and doing all kinds of stuff. And one of the younger brothers turns to the dad and says, I don't understand what's going on with Uncle Phil. I mean, he didn't even mention anything. What in the name of heaven is wrong with that breathtaking sight that we just looked at? That he would be negative. Do you understand? Dad looks at the son. He says, well, the problem, you see, isn't that there's anything wrong with the breathtaking sight. The problem is with the seer. That's where the problem is. Not with what is seen, but the nature of the seer. Because in the nature of the seer is hidden either the joy and the peace or the suffering and the pain, pure and simple. And our work is about making that discovery so clear to ourselves that it can no longer be pulled over the wool can't be pulled over our eyes by any moment that we look out and we see something that says is a problem. Here's this mountain in front of me. God, how did that mountain get there? Yes or no? So what is the first point? The observer is the observed. It's not the sight, it's the seer. Because the experience of the condition seen is the consciousness of the seer in that moment. They cannot be separated. So the moment of experience and the level of consciousness are always a singularity, but a singularity the consciousness doesn't know is a singularity because it sees that which it doesn't want as being set against it. Please? Now, we believe, I ask you to verify this, that any moment or anyone that, in quote, denies or defies us is defying us. Yes or no? I'm being denied. What am I being denied? What am I being denied? By you, him, there, this. There I am, I'm watching TV. What do I feel like life is denying me when I get negative over it? What do I feel like life is denying me? What I want from it. The seer of that moment can only look at what that man or woman is looking at through the eyes of the consciousness that is present in that moment. And if that consciousness is sitting there already stuffed with these unseen desires and demands that life confirm it, him, her as imagined, then every moment that runs counter to that is seen as a threat and something that must be judged and blamed accordingly for the pain that is not produced by the moment, but that belongs to the persona that is sitting there looking at the moment through the eyes of that kind of demand. Yes or no? Yes. And then, of course, what do? We always act accordingly. The moment I'm sure that you are the source of this destruction in my life, I have to turn around and do what to you? I got to fix you. Now, what are we looking at? If you're following this at all, and I have to help your mind, I know I do. There's some big points, jumps. This is one of them. The only problem I have with life is what I want from it. That's all. I have no other problem. I have no pain in my life with anyone or anything other than what I want from it. Now, how many of you are getting a glimpse of the problem here? Because the other side of the problem is all I want from life is to be happy. All I want from life is for you to do and to be, for them to act and to give, for the world to unfold as I naturally understand it should, so that everybody can be content and me along with it. And then wouldn't that be just grand? But try to see this. We have a little problem here, don't we? If we can see it, this is critical for you to understand. See, you love the idea that I can give myself what I want. I get people to be the way I want them to be. I get enough money. I get enough power, enough possession. I go from 73 to 23 years old overnight. It's a miracle. One of those pillows I'm sleeping on. Well, you buy it. Laugh at it like it's silly. You buy it all day long. What do you buy? Hope. What do you buy? Tomorrow. And there is no hope or tomorrow or need for hope or tomorrow without the desire that was thwarted and then says I must be reborn so that I can have a new understanding and a new relationship with life where I'll be happy and content forever. Following me? Deep breath. If you see it, the only pain, the only suffering I have psychologically is because of what I want. But I don't know how not to want, because that's all I know to do. Isn't that what happens immediately? You may not see it. I shouldn't do this, but I think it's important to pull all these little points out. How many of you have a moment and you start thinking about the moment, struggling with it, yes or no? What do you think that struggling is? Something happened I don't want. All these thoughts are about what I don't want are going through my mind, and I don't want my own thoughts. What I want is to be free of my thoughts. So the more I resist my own thinking, the more pain I'm in. The more pain I'm in, the more I have to think. That's called sinking with thinking. And it's never dawning on me that I don't know if it's possible. But I do know that what I'm bounced back in, that point where I run into over and over again, where I don't have a new beginning, but rather have to start a life over and reconstruct everything about myself, that moment is always the moment where I run into something that denies what I want. That's always the moment. Or when I get what I want, proves to be too temporary for any good. It seems impossible to be free of wanting and not wanting, because you can't separate them, doesn't it? That's what we're looking at here. One of the reasons it seems impossible to be free of wanting and not wanting, are you ready? Take a deep breath and write it down if you want to, that we believe wanting or not wanting is the solution to our suffering. Try to see the loop. We believe that wanting or not wanting is the solution to our suffering, when the suffering is caused by wanting and not wanting. You see what we're doing here? Trying to get the mind into a semi-stunned state so that it can be slipped aside and something can slip into the heart and the deeper part of the mind that will finally make a change in it, which is what the truth is always trying to do. That's what every impression is about. Now, let's be very clear, because I already hear this. What are you saying? That I can be free of desire? No, I'm saying that there is such thing as desire without identification. Don't get ahead of me. Desire without identification. I'm hungry. That's a desire, isn't it? I'm thirsty. Vodka. I'm tired. I want to rest. That's a natural desire, isn't it? Is there identification in being hungry or thirsty or wanting to rest? Is there identification in being drawn into something that I'm attracted to because it's educating me and I'm growing from it? Is there suffering in that kind of desire? Is there? Where then is the pain of desire? The pain of desire is inherent in the conditioning of that consciousness, so that what? When I hunger and thirst, I don't just want an apple, I want the apple. I'm not just thirsty, I want the drink. I don't want just clothes to see that I'm comfortable, I want the clothes. I don't just want to have a nice relationship with you, I want you to love me and be dependent upon me. So that in that desire, there is what is unnatural, because it doesn't exist without an identity that has established the parameters by which that relationship should exist. Are you understanding me? Am I going slow enough? I remember my mother said this to me. She didn't know what the heck she was saying, but she was so smart. She'd serve dinner, and I'd say, I don't want that. She says, I thought you said you were hungry. I am. She says, well, if you don't want that, you're not hungry. Did anybody ever say that to you? My mom did. I had an appetite for cake, potatoes. That's about it. Carbs. So this is where, if you're listening to me, our identity, on one hand, has no identity in hunger, thirst, natural need for comfort. But where identity and desire becomes unnatural is when that desire is for that which supports and confirms this identity I have of myself as someone who has to have special food, go special places, do special things, and be loved in a special way. Because if it's not like that, it ain't no good. Am I drawing the distinction here for you? So we have evidence that it's possible for natural desire. You say, well, how, how will I get through life? The real question is, how are you getting through life now? Because all of these desires that make life hard are not natural desires. End of story. And it's a good tell. If I feel angry, afraid, if I feel like I'm up against something, that's a pretty good tell that whatever it is that I'm desiring in that moment is not ever going to free me from the pain I'm in. It is the effect of the pain that I'm in and can never bring an end to that momentary cause as established by whatever condition triggered it in me. Still with me? Next phase. One day you're going to have to ask this question of yourself. Not because I'm asking you to ask it. One day you won't be able to escape this question. Isn't that lovely? Our whole life has been trying to avoid and escape this question. What's beyond desire? Isn't that the question at the root of every true spiritual teaching, every scripture, what's beyond desire? And if you're honest, you can't come up, or you do and will, well, what's beyond desire is God. What's beyond desire is love and beauty and harmony and kumbaya. And then you go right back into the conflict, by the way, even as you're speaking, of knowing that you don't know what you're saying. Briefly, what's beyond desire? All of the allusions to it, not illusion, allusion, all the things that allude to it in all the scriptures. How about, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. You know that. It's one of the David Psalms, yeah? Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And incidentally, our mind doesn't grasp it yet, but the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Along this journey, I'm here in a body, something's moving. I don't know whether I'm moving or something's moving through me. I shall not want. How can I not want throughout this journey? Because what I want is something from the journey. Please? I want something from the journey. The journey can't be the thing. The journey has to serve a purpose, and in truth it does, but it's not to bring us into whatever it is that we imagine the journey is and what we need to take from it. Are you not trying to take something from this life of yours? Consider the lilies of the field. They neither struggle nor toil, yet Solomon in all of his glory isn't arrayed like they are. See, they don't struggle or toil. My journey is, what's your journey like? Is it not struggle and toil? Yes or no? Take no thought for tomorrow. Translation, don't be anxious about anything. Take no thought for anything. So let me understand. The Lord, a life where I shall not want, because everything's provided for me on this journey. The journey itself is the provision. The lilies of the field, I could be like a lily of the field and neither struggle nor toil. I should take no thought for tomorrow. That's so alien to me. It seems impossible. And then last, you know it well, seek you first the kingdom of heaven, all else is added to you. So here are all of these ideas, images, teachings, poetry, veiled for those who cannot see, hinting at, indicating that there is a possibility that there is in fact another entire world. And that's key here. Because for us, when we hear seek first the kingdom of heaven, and you see it all the time. I used to go give these talks with big muckety-muck guru people. And everybody, yeah, you have abundance. You deserve this. You should have that. God wants you to have a Rolex. Felt like Nixon for a moment just then. God wants you to be loved by everybody because you are God's love and you embrace all creatures. And you're sitting there and at least momentarily you're high on the room, the sensation, but you know underneath it you don't love everybody. You love those that love you, and those that don't, you don't want anything to do with in that moment. So what is it's added to me? Seek first all else is, what's added to me? If it's, when I think of added, what do you think of when added to you? We don't have time to go through the fun we would have if we were at a Wednesday night. What do you think's added to you? You know what it is. A Porsche. Okay, I got Terry. What's added to me is that I can eat all I want and not gain a pound. People love me. At last, I'm living in a place where everything is perfect. Nothing moves except I move it. What's added to me is the world finally admires me. Everybody wants, what's added to me is everybody wants to do everything that I ask them to do without me even asking them for it. Yes or no? Sounds good, doesn't it? That's what we desire. And that's what we think the kingdom of heaven is. By the way, when you get to that kingdom, you won't be in heaven. You will be in the hell that you presently live in, believing that life is supposed to answer all of your desires. Because that's what hell is. Hell is the belief that a desire that is imagined has the power to free me from the pain that I don't know is imagined because I'm identified with the desire. So what's added is what? Ready? This is a big section. Ready? It's not what's imagined to answer our desires. That's not what's added. But rather, what is added is the gradual realization of the end of our unconscious relationship with an unconscious nature that only knows to identify with its own desires. That's what's added. The end of our relationship with an unconscious nature that doesn't know, all it knows how to do is imagine, desire, and then identify with its own images. That's what's added, the end of me. As I've known myself as a body of that nature. The end of me. But not the end of what's true, but the end of a relationship that I've been in since I took this body with a consciousness that cannot be content unless it's aiming for what it believes will free it or running from what it thinks it holds it captive. And that's what this consciousness is. It's a hamster, isn't it, on a wheel. You can see it. I'm not asking you if you understand it, but you can see it, can you not? And what is it, by the way, that it seeks? My chair just came off of the little mat. All of that seeking is what? A moment. It's looking for a moment in passing time that if it could just realize what it desires, then when it gets to the time and that desire is fulfilled, I'm happy. I'm free. All my troubles, Lord, soon be behind me. But we know, I hope you know, it's a fool's errand to believe that anything that I imagine will free me is actually going to have the power to liberate me from something that never stops having another desire, expressing the pain of it. Gosh, it's so extraordinary. Again, either you see it or you don't. It's breathtaking. Driving down here, just a quick example, on the way with my wife this morning, we're getting ready to turn down Merlin Galice Road, and there's a big red truck, an F4520. There's a big red truck, and with God as my witness, you don't see this. The man makes the left turn. It was fine. I looked at him, and instantaneously, this nature condemned that man. Doesn't know anything about him. Why did it condemn him? Because he didn't look like what that nature thinks he should look like. That goes on every moment of our life, every split second. That nature measuring, comparing, judging, deciding. And out of the decisions that consciousness makes, that you don't even know it is made when it is judged something that doesn't match what it desires, that in the moment that consciousness makes that judgment, then it then goes on and finds the associated reasons to justify its own suffering. Because it is suffering when you look at something and then allow an unconscious demand on that person or that time to tell you how things should be, because now you're set against life again. And when you're set against life, you know what happens next? You set yourself to a desire that will bring you to a point where you never have to see another person like that as long as you live. I'm going to own an island. Right, Eric? Yeah. I'm going to own an island, and there won't be anything to trouble me. I wish the sand weren't this coarse. Why is that palm tree blowing east, bringing in the warm winds and not the cooler south southerlies? You know this is true, do you not, please, so I can go on? So in every one of these moments that I look out, and it isn't what I desire, in that moment, not only am I facing some mountain in front of me. There was no mountain before there, was there? Suddenly there's a mountain, I got to get over it. Got to get over the mountain. And the point being, is the mountain out there, or is the mountain in the consciousness of the seer? Please, where is it? So in other words, any imagined desire that we hope will carry us up and over whatever the painful problem may be in that moment, not only is it powerless to do so, but that very desire is the secret source of whatever it seems to be that we're facing in that moment. Do you see it? Once again, coming full circle, letting the mind see what it doesn't see about itself. All right, nice deep breath, transition. I'm on time. How many of you live with a mountain range? That's the other thing. That's the oh, freedom, freedom, freedom. What's that passage? You shall say to that mountain, move, and it'll move. You don't understand the nature of the mountains. You don't understand there's something in you that carries all of that dirt over through time, so that should you have a moment where there isn't a mountain in front of you, at least you can bring one up and then figure out how to get past it, because you've got the other things solved. Have you not noticed that you never have things solved for any longer than the glass of wine that drowns it? Name a mountain in your life. Come on, we'll just take a moment. Name a few of these mountains. Anybody? Justification. A mountain. I'm always justifying. Well, that's not the mountain. The mountain is what I'm justifying, isn't it? Why you are how many of you have a mountain of a person in your life? You know what it means, don't you? Right, Denise? Not just others. I'm trying to get over myself. And I can't. And I don't know where the heck the mountain comes from. Anybody Barbara? I go someplace and no one behaves. That's a mountain, isn't it? How do I know it's a mountain? Because I'm looking at it and I've got to crush it, move it, or get over it. Means I've got to control you, Pat. This is boredom. Mountain. God, I don't know what to do with my life. Look at the size of that mountain. And the mountain grows the more I think to myself all the things I've done to get over it, because I know I'm not getting over it. Now I'm just left with that terrible mountain. A mountain of resistance. A mountain of resistance to what? We're going full circle. What's the mountain of resistance to? Anything that didn't answer the desire that led to the creation of that mountain in front of me. A mountain of my own making. You would never believe that, would you? How many of you have trouble with people? Yes, sir? Come on. Yes. A mountain of my own making. You say, wait a minute. They're disgusting. And by the way, most human beings are disgusting. Do you know why? Because they see you as a mountain. Because they see the moment before you walked into that room as a mountainous event that now they don't know what to do with, and I'm back in conflict and I'm full of pain, and you walk in, thank God you walked in, here's my pain. And then how do you answer their mountain? With a bigger mountain. Transition. What's the old Zen saying? First, there is a mountain, then there is no mountain, then there is. Donovan made a hit record out of that, but it's actually an old Zen saying. First there's a mountain, then there is no mountain, then there is. Now, I love the part where there is no mountain. I don't get then there is again, because that sounds like a bummer. Sounds like a return trip. First there's a mountain. Okay, I get that part. Then there's no mountain. Yeah. Then there is. Let's put it in the terms we've been talking about. First, there is a desire. The desire, we understand by its very existence, unconscious as it is in our nature, creates wherever it goes, under whatever circumstance it is triggered, instantaneously creates what it wants or doesn't want from that moment. That's what it does, instantaneous. So that this mountain in front of me didn't exist without the desire to want or not want that moment. Am I going slow enough so this is getting in? I have a problem at work. Now, problems appear all the time in work. But what does a problem at work have to do with me being punished by what you won't do or they can't get done or I'm unable to do? The natural desire in any challenge of the moment allows the individual, if they were capable of doing so, to deal with what is practical, not what is personal. We don't understand the difference between practical and personal because for us, personal is always practical, isn't it? In fact, that's the first practical thing, is that everybody does what I need them to do so I don't have any problems. How are you doing with that? My favorite question. First, there is this desire, a desire to want, to have, to be, to go, to do, a desire. I didn't give them to myself. Not one of these desires that you have did you give to yourself. You were conditioned, brainwashed, immersed in a muddy mess of a consciousness that was already so convoluted by its own content that all it can do is turn back on itself, and when it does, not see that it's turned back on itself and imagine a new self for itself when it gets all that muck straightened out, which it never does. So first there is a wanting to be, yes or no? First there's a mountain. But if I actually start to understand, here I am, I'm going to whine for you, okay? Why do people treat me like this? Or I have so much to do all the time, and you're not even out of bed yet. Is there a mountain in front of you in that moment? Yes or no? So there's a mountain in your bed. There's a mountain while you're having your coffee. There's a mountain while you're eating food that billions of human beings would give up their life to eat. There's a mountain there. There's no gratitude, by the way. Wherever there's a mountain, there's no gratitude. So there I am. Suddenly, I want. Suddenly, there is a mountain because it's not giving me what I want. So the mountain cannot be separated from the unseen desires that produce it. That's first. You got it? Now we come to the interesting part. Then there is no mountain. Well, wait a minute. How could there be no mountain when before there was a mountain? Because the mountain maker has begun to disappear. Because the unconscious nature, being given the possibility of seeing its own activity, begins to see that it makes mountains out of molehills. Literally, the real meaning of that saying. Because what I have to do 10 minutes from now have to do with being tormented now? What does what I wanted you to do have to do with me suffering because you aren't the way I need you to be? What does that have to do other than I am identified with someone in myself, a nature, a self that requires that moment imagined to unfold as imagined so I can be as I imagine myself. And therein is the mountain maker, this consciousness asleep to itself that does not see itself. But it can. Isn't that what all truth is about, isn't it? And when it begins to see itself, what begins to happen to the mountains? Well, here's this guy. The problem isn't with the sight, the problem is with the seer. The problem isn't with the mountain, the problem is with the nature that makes the mountains. Because without the nature that makes the mountains, there is no mountain. And then there is. But here's the problem, and I really want to spell this out. This is what we just don't understand. See, don't you love the idea of being able to see through the mountain maker and finally being free? Don't you love that? What's the cost of that freedom? Because when you get to that point where you start to actually understand and not just take food from the plate but put it in your mouth, you're going to realize, oh my God. I'll have no future. Because what is my future other than satisfying what hasn't been satisfied, going towards what I haven't been able to go to, and resolving what I've yet to been able to resolve? Isn't that what my future is? You need to see it. I'm being very sweet right now. Oh my God. That means my past. Whose past was it? Because my past has all been about all the mountains that I'm still carrying on my back. All the problems I'm still trying to figure out what to do with. That's my past. Oh, wait a minute. The mountains in my past are filled with that which creates the mountains in my future. Wait a minute. It's one mountain range. It's one range of mountain. And it doesn't exist without a consciousness that can't even conceive of what it would be like for a moment not to want to be free of the mountain. Men and women become lost on the spiritual path. I'm telling you, that's what it means to fall off of the path. Even those that so-called got very high up, they fell off the path. Do you know why? Because then they wanted to be somebody who had succeeded at spirituality. There's no one to succeed at spirituality. Spirit cleans itself. The light of God makes sure that whatever is formed in the moment is obliterated as anything that would be carried over and then create a desire for its own continuity. It's dissolved. And that's what must be for us. The cost of that freedom. First there's mountain, then there is no mountain. Now you've got a little bit of understand that. I tell you this because if you persist, you will come to that point. It's unavoidable. I was speaking with a good friend just yesterday. He's right at that point. There's no mountain. I'm not me. And I don't know who me is because all I can do is imagine myself in this problem or in this pleasure. That's all I know. Problems or pleasure. That's it. And everything is predicated on a mind that produces the very mountain it tries to escape. Seeing it? First there's a mountain, then there's no mountain, then there is. No, boy, what do you mean there is? Then I'm just back to living. Then I'm back to the point where a mountain starts to appear, it's dissolved, because I won't be a part of it. I won't take part in the fear. I won't believe in it, not because I don't want to believe in it, because I've seen that fear is the lie made by the mountain maker so that he or she can deal with the mountain they've made. Isn't that what fear is? Isn't fear of a mountain to come? Well, who fears a mountain to come if the mountain to come doesn't exist without the identity producing it? That consciousness produces the fear and the freedom it imagines it will find when it finally gets over the mountain. Now, what is the nature of that mountain, ever so briefly, before we get to the exercise? We've been talking about it here in this room for a week or two now. Bring it down. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. It's inescapable at this level. At the level of creation, you and I are creations, but we're also uncreated. At the level of creation, for every action, equal and opposite reaction. You know that, yes or no? Which means what? It means the very moment that a desire comes up in this consciousness, which doesn't exist without resistance going before it. No desire appears in this consciousness that isn't preceded by some form of resistance. I don't want this, or I want that because what I had isn't good enough. No desire appears that doesn't start with some form of resistance. And if desire is the formation of resistance, that means what? For every desire, what? Is created a second opposing force. No desire is created without a second or opposing force. Period. You either see it or you don't. So that each of our wants that we imagine is always accompanied by an unimaginable moment we don't want. Except the unimaginable moment we don't want doesn't always appear in the same moment of what we want, because what we want we're so identified with we don't even begin to think that here I am, I'm putting out this force. When you desire something, you are radiating a certain amount of energy that this consciousness requires in order to have the image and the identification with it. Whew, like that. Now, when you send out whew, like that, what do you think is waiting for you? Whew. Because this is a universe of love. It's a universe of perfect balance. It is a universe of endless justice. But we don't think when we get the mountain in front of us that there's justice in that. We think it's an injustice, don't we? Given all the goodness that we are and do. That's an injustice. No, it's not an injustice. It is a moment where the divine itself is saying, here's your mountain. What are you going to do with it? And for the longest time, there won't even be a chance for you to answer the question. There'll just be the instantaneous resistance to the appearance of a mountain that only exists because of your insistence. That's all there'll be. Instantaneous resistance to your own insistence. God, please, do you know how hard I work to try to get you to see this contradiction in this consciousness? Instantaneous resistance to my own insistence. Does that go anywhere? Can it go anywhere? Can it? So if I actually discover in that moment, here's this mountain, how many of you suspect there'll be a mountain in your life before the next 2 minutes is out of the way? What is any mountain of any unwanted moment other than what stands in our way while we're on our way to achieving what some desire has told us? Summary? Yes? Let's bring up the last key lesson, please, Eric. Oh, no, I was wrong. That's not the next to the last key lesson. There it is. I wrote this out for you. I hope you'll contemplate it. Aren't we looking at what's beyond desire? The answer is the end of being unconsciously identified with the illusion of there being any time to come before or after the present moment, and whatever may be the nature of its revelation and corresponding experience. The illusion of any time to come that is before or after the present moment. That is what's beyond desire. The end of a consciousness trapped in a time of its own making. That's what the kingdom of heaven is the realization and entrance into another order of being, another level of being, where instead of serving this machine of cause and effect, of want and not want, the very mechanism of that consciousness is revealed to an awareness that sits above it. And then you can have natural desires without a problem. You go to the beach, I desire to sit under the shade or in the sun. Those are natural desires. But if I can't get the shade I want, is it a natural desire to hate the beach? Do you understand what I'm trying to show you? The end of being unconsciously identified with the illusion of there being any time to come that is other than my experience of myself in the moment. The belief that the event is different than the experience it produces is what causes this crucible in which this consciousness is forever trying to figure out how it can escape the experience of itself. That's the cost of freedom, is the realization that you cannot escape the experience of yourself, and that anything in you that is trying to do so is part of the continuity of all the conflict that you have in your life on a daily basis. The clearer that gets, the clearer you will be and the nearer you will be to the cost of freedom. And listen to this, the last thing I have to say, and you've been given what it costs. You've been given what it costs. You don't have to come up with the cost of it. You've been given it. And what do you think that cost is that you've been given? Yourself, as you imagine yourself to be. The sacrifice of the first, so that the last, the light that dwells in the darkness, can begin to reveal the darkness and show the darkness that it is on a fast track to nowhere, and that stepping off isn't adding things to make the track lovely. Stepping off is realizing that that desire you must go beyond that desire, that you can only do by seeing it. And so what was that last part that T.S. Eliot wrote? We shall not cease from exploration, and at the end of exploring we will be to arrive where we started and to know the place for the first time. And to know the place for the first time. Let's take a break. We'll come back and have our dialogue.
All right, everyone, welcome back to part 2 of class. We're about to get started with our open Q&A dialogue with Guy. While you all get settled and everyone in the room gets settled, I just wanted to give a couple of quick announcements. First of all, if you're not familiar with Life of Learning Foundation, we are a nonprofit located in Southern Oregon. And if you would like to help us with our mission of getting these ideas that are so helpful and healing out to as many people as possible, we would certainly appreciate any donation that you might give to us. One-time donation, become a monthly donor, whatever is in your heart to do. You can go to guyfinley.org/donate, and you'll see on that page how you can make a donation. Scroll down on that page, you'll see other ways that you can support this work that don't cost you a penny. And thank you to all of you who have supported us through the years, and we appreciate any amount that you can help us with. And all donations are tax deductible in the US. And I mentioned that we are here in Southern Oregon. We actually give classes here at the foundation twice a week, Sunday mornings at 9:30 a.m. Pacific and Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. Pacific. You are welcome to join us anytime here in person. Just drop in if you're passing through, or actually plan to make a trip out of it if you want. There's nothing like being here at the foundation and taking in classes in person and meeting Guy and all of the longtime students here. So certainly encourage you to do that anytime. And a couple of other times that are a nice time to visit. 4 times a year, we have what we call Weekend of Wisdom, where we have a 3-day weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, where Guy gives several talks, and we have a nice lunch and some gatherings with the folks here. And you can learn more about those events, those weekends, we call them our WOW weekends. You can learn about those on our website at guyfinley.org/events. So just go to guyfinley.org/events to see all the things that we do here, the in-person gatherings that we have, the live streaming that we have, the special classes that Guy gives every so often on other platforms. So guyfinley.org/events is where you'll find out more information about that. Our next Weekend of Wisdom is September 22nd to the 24th. And if you're on our email list, just keep an eye on your email and you'll find out more, you'll get more information about that as we get closer. And we also have, on non-Weekend of Wisdom months, we have a work party weekend at the end of each month on the Saturday, the last Saturday of the month. So we actually do have a work party weekend coming up next weekend. So I guess you could say this coming Saturday, I believe it's July 30th. And that's just a time when on Saturday we have a little gathering. We meet in the morning and we do some cleanup around the foundation here. Then we have a nice lunch together that's homemade by the gals here, and a discussion, an open roundtable discussion with Guy afterwards. And we do live stream that discussion as well. So just wanted to encourage you to come drop in, especially our local students, come and visit us on Saturday. We get started at 9:30 a.m. And if you're not able to join us here in person, do tune in for the live stream discussion, which starts at 1:30 p.m. Pacific. And again, if you're on our email list, you'll get information about that as we get closer. All right, let's go ahead and get started with our Q&A with Guy. Guy, do you have anything you want to share before we jump in?
There was a third key lesson that I thought I would put up and then allow you to copy it if you want. I didn't want to start with it because it would have seemed too obscure. I hope it's not now, or at least you can feel some of what we spoke about in this instance, as Eliot was describing. It reads, "The end again is the beginning, and the beginning again never ends." The end again is the beginning, and the beginning again never ends. This is a description of another order of consciousness that sees life and takes part in life like that. Ceaseless rebirth, because it is a ceaseless ending of itself and the ceaseless beginning of itself all at the same time. You hear that or you don't. That's all I have, Kate.
All right, let's go ahead and get started then. So for the folks in the room, if you want to share something, you can go up to the mic, as you know. And for those of you online here on GoToWebinar, if you would like to speak with Guy, you can go ahead and raise your hand. Just click that little hand icon, and that lets me know that you wish to talk to him, and I'll unmute you, and then you unmute on your end. If you're on a phone, just look for the little hand icon and tap it. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, you can send a note into the chat area, and I'm trying to monitor all that, and I will grab that and read it to Guy as well. So I do see Imogen has her hand up, but before we bring her in, Guy, I'm going to send you a question that came in during the week from Elena. And here it goes to you in your iMessage area. So Elena says, I appreciated reading the weekly key lesson email, which this week included relationship advice. Unconditional love. Do you think there are exceptions? I'm in a relationship where addiction issues on my boyfriend's part are wearing me down. We have a 3-year-old, and I don't want him growing up around the weed and excess alcohol. But I'm scared to leave and face the unknown. In reading that email, maybe I should just try to be more loving.
You know, so many times I think we all know exactly what needs to be done, but we don't want to do it because it requires too much cost. And so as a result of refusing what we know is true and right for us to do, we wind up paying an inexpressible cost, which isn't just the development of my own soul, but in this instance, that of my child. I would never, and I never have, I never will. 40 years, I don't give personal advice. I'm not about to do it. It's not my job. I'd be stealing from you. But I can tell you that unconditional love doesn't mean unconditionally tolerating someone who has been asked to change their life and who refuses to. So unconditional love in this instance would be the true unconditional love of oneself in the truest sense of the word, which is I'm not going to compromise myself for the sake of the continuation of a relationship that is already on the rocks. So I don't know, you know, it's apparently lost for words. You have this image of yourself as being someone, you know, because when I desire something and when I don't want something, I'm going the other way. But it's always clear cut. I know. You have to get to the point where you realize you don't know. What desire tells you that you know, you don't know. That's desire's knowledge ensuring that you reincarnate that consciousness. But I tell you, and I know for a fact, but my knowledge in this instance isn't your experience, it's mine. God is good. You can't be given an impression whose importance is to be delegated, pushed to the side. You have the impression all the time, I need to stop being afraid. I need to stop lying to myself and everyone else. I need to stop practicing this appearance of being somebody who's beyond the pale. You've had 1,000 impressions like that, and 1,000 times you run into it and you're back. Because desire says, well, you know, next time, because if I go that far, God only knows what's going to happen to me. And God does know what will happen to you. If you do, in fact, discover what's beyond that, God also knows what's going to happen to you if you don't. And then you will have the lesson again and again and again. Lessons do not always appear manifested in physicality at the moment where the teaching is there. Sometimes you have to go through seeing that you refuse the lesson and realize 10 years downstream, I'm still suffering for the fear of not being loved because 10 years ago I refused to walk away from a relationship that had no love in it for fear that I wouldn't be loved by life. You just have to go through it. Like I say, I can't do anything other than stand, if you will, and hold a little placard. It doesn't even say this way. It just says, it's okay. Find out for yourself. Over to you, Kate.
All right, we have 2 hands up in the queue, and I have 2 written questions. We're going to go to the queue, though, here with Imogen.
Hello, Guy. Not so much a question this time, just a big thank you, though. My my heart's just been dancing recently, and I think I fell into this place in a funny way. I think I said I had a stroke, and then now I've got cancer. And I found relief. I'm obviously not who I thought I was, but it's a relief, and it's total change of direction. And I just get the giggles thinking about how I used to be. And your question is, what's the cost? Well, there isn't a cost because I don't exist. It's brilliant. I was saying to myself, well, here's a question. How do I hang on to this? And I told myself it was, I just can't catch those silly thoughts. And then you'll be back here. It's too good to be true, this.
Yeah. The way out of a dream is to wake up.
Yeah.
But I have to actually prefer the experience of myself facing this mountain so that I can see the mountain didn't exist without me being in a dream. Everything returns back to the beginning. We can be at the beginning, but not if we're insisting on the end we want or a new start as we've imagined it. Good, Imogen. I'm glad for you. Jerry, give that to Doug.
All right, we're going to go to Tony next.
Okay.
Hi there. Guy, another nice talk. Thank you. I was wondering if you could share your thoughts or tell me what you think about the position of birth in the family. Is that part of unconsciousness of this world, or is it natural? Do we just need to accept people, for example, with ECS, eldest child syndrome, or BCS, spoiled brat syndrome? I find my problem is resisting people with bossiness or ECS, and I'm constantly in pushback mode, like I am my own boss, sorry, no one treats me like this. And when I look into these people's position in birth, it's like, what else can they do?
Okay. Tony, stop thinking. No, just stop thinking. Start being. I don't need this is that and the others for me to know that I'm on fire around certain people. I don't know. I don't even know how I got there. I didn't know whether somebody dropped something into the womb and it hit me on the head. I don't know how it happened, but I do know I'm in pain. I do know I'm angry. I do know I'm impatient. I do know I'm greedy. I do know I'm insistent. But I never think that it's my insistence that's the source of my suffering, because I always have a name for whoever and whatever it is that's causing that pain. Get rid of the names, Tony. Names don't exist without the desires that produce them, so something could be identified with. Get rid of the names. That's what it means to start actual in the moment. Start with what I am and don't leave it. Don't go beyond it. Let you see in that moment. This nature cannot be separated from the man, the woman, the problem, the pain it sees. They're a singularity. And as you see that, all of it just begins to crumble. Not easy. But you're a warrior, and I know that now. You do that. Just do it. See what happens. Then let's have another conversation. Let's go on, Kate. That's for everybody. You understand that, right? This is our work. God, we just love to think. Thinking is a buffer.
All right, we're going to go to a question from George. I just sent it to you. He says, "Hi, Guy. Please talk to us about spirit. What is spirit intervention, and what may a channeled spirit be? Thank you."
Spirit isn't something that you call on. Spirit is what sees there's nothing to be called on to be free. I know it seems almost impossible, and I even said so in this talk. How am I ever going to be free of wanting and not wanting? It runs so deep, I don't even suspect it. Thank God for the light. Thank God for the light. The whole idea of a spirit intervening is a desire on the part of a nature that fears that without something intervening in its place, it's going to be a victim forever. So it creates this image. Is there a spirit without an image? Of course there is. But the image of spirit isn't spirit. The image of spirit is made in the image of the consciousness that created it in order to free it. There's a spirit in the room. Who created that spirit? It was there wherever two or three were gathered in the name of that truth. It's there already. And so it is already there any time that you remember that you're in the hands of a spirit that wants to spirit you away into its world and ensure that you serve it there. The revelation of that is spirit. But that spirit has no name. What it is showing you, if you're willing, is the name you have given to that moment, and now the spirit you need to rescue you from the mountain that was created in your own image. You got that? If you guys get it, George can get it. On we go.
All right, I'm going to bring in this question from our friend Carl in Dublin, and here is what he says. "Hi, Guy. Great talk. The question I has is, if one is in complete attention in the present moment, is there any room for thought? So will there still be thoughts in my head if my attention is in the present? Is thought allowed in the present moment? It's something I'm trying to work with at the moment.
Good.
Thank you."
Yeah, that's great. I love the question. First, there is a mountain. It's called Blabber Mount. Then there is no mountain because I've begun to see through the blabbering. Then there is. Then I have desires, but I'm no longer had by them. And intelligence has placed an unconscious nature into its proper order. That's what the kingdom of heaven is order. It's clarity. It's living from an order of your own existence that knows the order of things, because awareness is effortless order, and you live in that awareness. So you don't have to think to yourself, should I think about this or not? You can see the consciousness and experience it as it's reacting and responding, and you know whether or not to realize that moment or to let it go by. And there's no problem with it. It just is or it isn't. And then you're on to the next moment that is or isn't. And you have thought or you don't. Our problem is that we don't know how to have thought that isn't desire-born. So the only way we'll ever understand how to naturally quietly think about things that are necessary is when that intelligence is doing the thinking for us. It's making the choices for us. That's when that transpires. So George, good question. Of course there's room in the present moment for thought. Someone says, how are you? I say, how am I? Well, no, there are a lot of spiritual phony balonies. Ask me how I am. Acting like I'm God-filled, when what I'm filled with is the love of myself and the sensation it produces when I live out the desire to be seen that way. Will there be room in my thoughts, in my head, if my attention is in the present? When your attention is in the present, you'll see the thoughts instead of being them. When your attention is in the present moment, you will see the thoughts instead of unconsciously identifying with them. What could be better than that? Is thought aloud in the present moment? When would the present moment deny the need for a natural relationship? I'm talking to you. You're out to dinner with somebody. You're having a conversation. Please don't sit there with that, I almost said a bad word, with that stupid look on your face. But on the other hand, please don't sit there and try to figure out how to be clever. If there's nothing to say, just zip the lip and sit there and then suffer the unconscious silence that comes with being desired as seen as a clever conversationalist. It's all there. You just have to get out of the way. That's all, Kate.
All right, well, we don't have any more questions and no hands up, so we can switch over to you all in the room.
Sweet. Denise is on her way up, and we are breathless with anticipation.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I think Denise might be the poster child for it's not life that's hard, it's you that makes it hard. Last night I got a text from my daughter-in-law saying she was having a big problem with our grandson and how she had met the moment and instantaneous resistance to that, and that.
You want to do something that's really fun and exciting?
Okay.
You know what it is, don't you?
Take a breath.
Take a breath and stop talking in that voice.
Oh, I don't hear it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Is it a whiny voice?
Oh! See, that's...
The victim.
Yeah, that's it. And that's how it talks.
Yeah.
And as it talks, it produces the sensation, and then the justification of the sensation, and then you've got that loop. I know you see it. Now the question is, can I be aware of that loop and step out of it deliberately? Which means I'll be very uncomfortable. But if I'm very uncomfortable, then I'll be much more aware of the loop, won't I? Instead of being its instrument, I'll be its observer. Go for it.
So, my response was to do a 6-page text.
Good, keep going.
And, but I did catch at several points along the way that impulse that said to me,
Keep going.
you don't know what you're talking about.
Close.
But that urge to fix it was so strong, I could not drop it.
Right.
Denise
Amazing,
could
isn't
not
it?
drop it.
Isn't it amazing that there is something inside of us that is so angry, afraid, worried, and nervous that it will punish us, and we sit and submit to it.
And punish others.
And which is the
God only knows what
Exactly.
she's going to think when she gets it.
Exactly, which is really all punishment begins with self-punishment. There's no exception to it. You accept fear as necessary. See, that's not spirit, George. You accept worry and anxiety as necessary. You accept the belief that others should accept your answers as being true as necessary. That's called not being an individual.
It's ridiculous.
It is. Say it out loud. Big time.
It's ridiculous.
There you go. Just one more time.
It's ridiculous.
Yes, it is. That's all you need to know. You're fixed.
Okay. I just want to make an intention to
Careful. That
listen to the impulse. I mean, pause longer when I feel the impulse.
That'd be solid.
Okay.
There you go. Because then you'll see the mountain with greater clarity instead of just, oh my God, what is that? I've got to get through it and over it. Okay? You did good, Denise. Don't stay away for another 2 years, okay? Come on, Eric. I like Denise. Well, you do. You know what? If you will stick and go through it, it's impossible that you don't see through it.
Good morning. My name is Eric. Guys started the talk with something like, the cost of freedom is giving up the idea that there's a you that's going to find freedom.
Yes.
And before class, I was thinking about a quote from Tolstoy, Leo Tolstoy. He said something like, man need not perform any acts or exploits, but only to make an intense effort at consciousness.
Yes.
And it made me think of double attention.
Yes.
Now, to define that briefly, if I can, is awareness of everything going on in you and outside of you at the same time.
Yes.
And because it's one thing in reality, and it already exists as one thing, we're trying to have a relationship with that.
Correct.
And I guess the impression was just that, well, even in just the effort at double attention, even if it's just intellectual, for one thing, you'll be shown that it's just intellectual, and the correction is made internally. But the main impression was just that all of the thinking, planning, just all the entire lifetime of planning and thinking is nothing next to that effort of double attention.
Yes.
Just to that one effort.
Come on up, Doug. Yeah.
John, our sound engineer, and I were talking at the break because we have the privilege to be able to dig deeper and talk about this next Friday night when our student talks, because we felt that this was really something. And certain talks hit you differently, but this one was really talking about full participation with life. He talked about order and clarity, and it's because we're so bent on protecting an entity that is destroying us.
Yes.
And you see that, and you just go, I want to engage with life fully. Like on the way here, Barbie and I, if you're around here, almost everywhere you go around here, you'll see a squirrel go by you. And I said to Barbie, I said, squirrels never lumber. They're always, when they would go in front of the car, they don't lumber along. That's not a squirrel's nature to lumber. I don't know if that's the right word, but it seems appropriate. But they do what they do, and you're always wishing for the squirrel to keep going across so you don't have to deal with the consequences. But it's pure what that does. I mean, within its level of consciousness, like a tiger engages, he sees his prey, and if he's hungry, he'll go after it fully, and he won't have any sense of excuse. If he doesn't want the prey, he'll just turn the other way. There's the proper engagement in that, and I just see this cost of freedom is fully engaging with life, because if we do that, then Spirit helps us. Something higher brings us to a different order of understanding that how can I stay in this self-protective mode that can possibly go nowhere? It's, judgmental, you said this, I have to get back to you with this, and it never feels good. And I'm grateful for getting this chance to see a little bit more about this.
Yes. I think in some indefinable fashion, though yet understood or perceived, that really the whole of your life is a chance to see a little more. The whole of it. Because not on the other side, but as part of that seer, is the fact that what it is discovering is the endlessness of itself, high and low, light and dark. And it has no fear of itself, because the moment it sees itself, it becomes something else. Fabulous. Have a nice afternoon.